My definition of ego is awareness in the service of fear. That's ego. Awareness in the service of fear. Now, awareness in the service of love is not ego at all. When I talk about ego, it's not about that you are aware of yourself or aware that you exist or, aware of the capital I that is you. That's just awareness. Awareness is aware of self. Self-awareness. Okay, awareness is a good thing. That's you being conscious. All consciousness is aware. So let's say here's a difference between ego in the service of fear is typically ego that is trying to justify things. When you get upset, when you get angry, that's your ego. It's about you. You want things to be the way you want them. You have a sense of what's right and the way people should be. And when they're not that way, you find them annoying. You'd like to explain to them how they ought to be different. All of that's ego. You see, that's all you trying to control the world to be the way you want it. That's because you have fear that if the world isn't the way you want it, it's going to be bad. It's not going to be, it's going to be suboptimal because you know what's best. Well, everybody feels that way, that they know what's best, and they don't agree on what it is that they ought to be doing or what you ought to be doing. So it tends to be, ego versus ego out in the world is what we do. Most people make most of their choices, probably 80% of everybody's choices that they make are made out of fear, ego, and belief. It's the way we tend to operate. It's the nature of a high entropy consciousness to do that. So it's normal. So my definition of ego as awareness in the service of fear turns out to be almost exactly the same thing as Freud's definition of ego. He had ego as the sense of self, but because most people are driven by fear, then most people's sense of self is ego and fear related, which makes my definition and Freud's definition about the same thing. Okay, so let's go to the other example. What is awareness in the service of love? Well, awareness in the service of love is awareness about other. It's about other people. How can I be helpful? As opposed to what can I get and what do I need and how can I get it? How can I give? As opposed to what can I get? Awareness in the service of love is not about self. Fear is always about self. So when you are fearful, that fear is always about you. So anything that has to do with your fear is about you. It's self-centered, self-focused, and that's ego. So now it's very difficult sometimes to tell the difference between if you do an act or you do something, whether that's out of ego or whether that's not. That's not necessarily a clear thing to judge because you have this ego is such that it justifies everything. So when you do something, your ego tells you that that's a good thing to do. You couldn't have done anything else. That was the best choice. And that was a fine thing to do. And your ego will tell you that whether that's true or not. Because the fear at the bottom of that is doing things that aren't right, doing things that aren't helpful, and having a wrong understanding, being trapped inside your beliefs. Nobody wants to feel wrong. Everybody'd like to feel right. So that ego always tells us that we're right. So when we say, well, I'm going to do this and I don't want it to be out of my ego, I just want to do it out of caring, it's hard to tell. That ego is very slick at getting you to think you're doing it out of caring when you're really not. You're doing it because you think you should be doing it. So I want to be kind to people because I know I should. That's a good way to be. Kind is a nice thing. So when I see somebody that needs help, I will be kind to them. So you see somebody that needs help and you go over and you help them out. If you do that because you think you should, then that's coming out of the intellect. And that's your ego operating. The fear is, the fear related to that is the fear of not being kind or of not being helpful, because you've already decided that not being helpful is a bad thing. And you don't want to be bad, therefore you are a good person. So I don't know if I'm confusing you or not, but the idea is the difference is your intent, your capital I intent. What is your motivator? What down deep at your being level is really the reason why you're doing what you're doing? If the deep down reason is you're being motivated by fear, then that's your ego talking and your beliefs talking. If what your deep down level is motivated by caring, by love, by caring about other, then it's not your ego talking. So when we get rid of our fear, then ego and the beliefs disappear with it. And then all of our choices are made in the service of love. And then we have a very low entropy. So most of us are struggling with our ego. It's just a common thing. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to become a higher quality consciousness and get rid of the fear and ego. But it's a long process that we're struggling with it.